Welcome to Access, thanks to Crypto.com. Matthew, Lloyd and Damian Barrett with you after round 22, where the Collingwood Football Club, Lordo, is in freefall.
Yeah, they are, Damo, and I'm just as concerned about the reigning premiers, the Brisbane Lions, who I want to chat about. And also, Ben King goes under the radar. We're going to look at some of his movement over the weekend, which was sensational. OK, the Pies have now lost 4 of 5. They've lost their confidence, they've lost composure. It's arguable that they've actually lost some hope on this crack at a premiership in 2025, Lordo, with those numbers in their last 5 games in stark contrast to what they'd set up before that. Yeah, where do you start if you're Craig McRae? Because their scoring profiles dropped off and their greatest asset was their team defence. That's dropped off dramatically, where they've gone from 1st to 10th. They used to punish you off turnover. That's gone as well, disappeared, and they can't score. Jamie Elliott's not even in form, so it's hard to name one player who's going well for Collingwood. But it was where they turned the footy over, which surprised me due to the lack of confidence that they've got, lack of connection. Heard Craig McRae after the game. He was bitterly disappointed with what was going on. But take a look at some of these turnovers. And this is where Hawthorn, I think, really planned well for Collingwood. But that's just unforgivable from Darcy Moore. Everyone makes mistakes.
It's a panic move.
It is a lack of confidence, lack of panic. Hawthorn just kept making them nervous. There was just turnover, even from stars like Josh Dacos.
That man's a worry, Dan.
He is a real worry. That's a handball. It's just a panicked handball. Broken tackle from Jack Crisp there. Nick Dacos. What is that? So that it was just time and time again. We could have shown another, double the amount of vision in this than what we're showing here. But look at that errant handball from Josh Dacos. So they are a shell of themselves.
And as you highlight what they're doing here, Lordo, by way of panic as much as anything. So the losses to Fremantle and Gold Coast before the win against Richmond, and then out of that win, you've got a loss to the Brisbane Lions, and now this worst performance. Yeah. They've got games against Adelaide this week coming, and then Melbourne. I'm not convinced they can actually retrieve this.
No, I'm not either. Because, as I said, I don't know where Craig starts, because they're not offensively going well and not defensively going well. So they can crank up their tackle pressure and things like that, but it only takes you so far. Are they too old? Are they too slow? They're the questions that are being asked. So a bit like Sydney last year, where they were miles ahead, but at the business end, I talk about, don't worry about June, July. You want to be cranking up and going well in August, and they're not going well at all.
And their good players are down on form, as you've just highlighted. One of those players is Darcy Cameron, who, as we talked this morning, has re-signed with Collingwood on a long-term deal. But he had one of his worst performances against Lloyd Meeke in this particular game, and it too is a major concern, Lordo.
I think they went after him. I think they went after Darcy Cameron, and he isn't playing as well. And it was Lloyd Meeke charging forward and attacking him forward. And Lloyd Meeke played one of the more commanding games I've seen him play. So not good enough, Darcy Moore, but I'm not sure where Darcy Cameron is. But he's certainly in this clip. Darcy Cameron, not competitive enough. Get in behind him, chop the arm, smash the ball. Not good enough, dropped his head. And then this, charging forward, exposing him. When a ruckman kicks 3 goals against you, well, you're in trouble as a team. So he's got to step up. It starts with Darcy Cameron in that midfield against the Adelaide Crows and Riley O'Brien this week.
And just to remind people, Jeremy Howe is out for at least one game with the HIA that he suffered in the Hawthorn game. He's not going to be there for this game against Adelaide, who's got the most potent forward line. Yeah,
so we thought Frampton could be an answer for them against Charlie Dean. You hope he'll be better for his second game up, because he was disappointing. Darcy Moore disappointing. But it's all over the field. They've got to improve.
Yep. One team that just did what it had to do at around 22 was the Western Bulldogs against Melbourne. It wasn't easy. It got dicey. It was precarious in the last quarter, but their bigger names stood up, Lordo, and they kept their season alive.
I agree with that. Aaron Norton stood up. He kicked another 5, so it's the 5th time he's done it in 6 weeks. So what a performance from him. Richards, brilliant. As good a midfield game as you'll get. Bontempelli, what a season he's having. And then Darcy's last quarter done. So you're right, their best players did stand up big time. Their defence is still a problem. They conceded 93 points, or more than that, against the Melbourne, which you wouldn't want to do, because you're not going to win a final conceding that much.
And Bustlinger being taken out of the game as a tactical sub. They haven't been able to solve that third tall issue that they've had all year.
And that's why if they scrape in and make it, I don't think they're going to go too far because of their problems in defence.
Yep. The Lions, Lordo, now we were talking about them in glowing fashion last week, coming off a loss as it was the previous week against the Suns. They beat Collingwood, and then they've had another bad one against the Swans. They got it back to within 2 points, but the game was blown away and taken away from them early in the equation. And there's reasons for it, and we're just going to take a look at this, because there were 4 players out of their backline 6 from last year's premiership not playing in this particular game. Brandon Starcevic was the late withdrawal in that game against the Swans, but Payne's already out for the year, so too Ainsworth, and Lester missed with concussion. You've got Lachie Neale obviously now out for the remainder of the home and away season, and Loman just has not been able to get a proper crack at it all season.
We're going to talk about what the Swans did shortly to them to expose that defence, but when you lose that many from your back 6 or 7, it's really unsettling, and then when you lose your prime mover in the midfield, that doesn't help either. So, yeah, we often say in this game, health is your best friend, and at the wrong time of the year, they've just got too many outs, losing 2 of their last 3.
They stormed home. They finally worked out what the Swans had been doing against them in this particular game, Lotto. But there was a way through the lines that I think will be concerning to Chris Fagan and others at the reigning Premier team, and maybe what other clubs should do against them in the remaining 2 games.
Yeah, and I put it here on the guys like Charlie Cameron, Eric Hipwood, what they are doing with their forward pressure, because we look at the Swans and their ball movement, that was just one of the most breathtaking performances from the Sydney Swans, their best performance all year with this ball movement. So we know what Blakey does, but this was a team performance. This wasn't just a few individuals taking the game on like Blakey does for Sydney. This was a plan, use the handball, take them on, challenge them, and they've got a weak backline. So we can expose them, get it in, challenge them, draw them up, and then get it in nice and quick where Heaney's kicked 5. It was a masterclass from Dean Cox.
Yep. A bit like the Western Bulldogs, Lordo. The Dockers just had to grind one out against Port Adelaide. The coach speak part of our show today for Access for Crypto.com is Justin Longmuir, who did describe the second quarter in a very ordinary fashion.
We probably had our worst 20 minutes or 15 minutes of footy we've played for a long time in that second quarter. To concede 8 goals in a quarter, but it was just the way we were conceding them and the speed at which they got on top and started kicking goals it was unacceptable, clearly.
They got away with it, Lordo, and they've now won 11 of 12 matches, which takes some doing in the modern game, but they were exposed badly in this second period by the Power.
Yeah, and it's too easy, and it's out of the stoppage. So that was interesting. A small midfielder in Rosie there running off of the big Luke Jackson. So teams could potentially look at that, of big Jackson in the ruck and how they can expose him out of the midfield. But yeah, it was too easy. That's where he's so disappointed. And he gets the win, as you say, but he'll understand that that's not going to get you anywhere. If you concede 8 goals in a quarter and the ease at which we're seeing some of these goals, now, it'll knock you. Could lose a first final and your season's over, so that's a real wake-up for them.
We just saw some heroes individually from a Bulldogs perspective, Lordo. You referenced Richards and Bontempelli and Norton's performances, and the Dockers required the same thing to happen to them. It was their captain, Alex Pearce, who stood up, and no surprise that Caleb Sarong was the man who kicked it to him in this moment. But if anyone sees a moment better than Pearce has just there, Lordo, to go back and take that mark, and then more importantly to kick the goal, because if he missed it, they would have had possession with about 50 seconds remaining in the game. It's leadership personified there.
It is, and I love the clubs. It's a full-time profession, and there's big bucks and everything on jobs are riding on the line for winning games like that. So to have a set play that you execute, and it's one of the big thrills in football.
And this is what's happening to the Dockers amongst these past 12 games where they've won 11, Lotto. They're having to come from behind in a very significant way. I like it as an overall positive, but again, it's not something you plan for. And as you point out, it will leave them exposed if that happens in a key final.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the teams humming towards September is Damo. Top 4 chances, the Gold Coast Suns. And Ben King, I don't think he gets spoken about enough for the season he's having. He's now 3rd in the Coleman medal race, and it was his movement. So
57 goals?
57 goals.
This 6 on the weekend.
On Wiedering. So I'm questioning Wiedering a bit here with he hands over a little bit too much at times. Not in this case, but that movement on Wiedering, he just loses him. So for any young kid watching and asking the question, how can I be a great forward? It's movement. You don't make one lead, you make 2, 3. Nick Reebok was one of the best, and look at him trying to hand over to Young. That's your man. Don't hand over theirs. But he did it all night long, and then when you move enough, you can set yourself up to take some hang time and some speckies as well. So I thought it was a really dominant performance from King, and his best performance of the year.
Yeah, you've highlighted some of his form this year as saying too close to goal. Did you like what you saw? I mean, he didn't get out of the 50 a lot, but he just seemed to move around a lot more in it.
That's right, yeah. And then you just open yourself up to, if you want to just make it a running race, you'll be spoiled a lot. But if you make it like that, I thought he He exposed Wiedering. Wiedering's not the most agile player. He's great when he gets in behind you and can use his body, but if you move enough on him, that's how you can expose him.
Look at you with your perk in the step about the key forwards. Stay on this topic, Lotto, because there were 4 of them basically at Hawthorn who, for a second week in a row, were used by Sam Mitchell to great effect. We're talking about Lewis, Deer, Chol and Gunston, and it's 2 weeks in a row now where it's worked. They lost against Adelaide, but the forward line worked. It worked beautifully against Collingwood.
And we've put the spotlight on them, how they didn't get in each other's way, and Collingwood were a very nervous and jumpy defence. And look at this. Jack Crisp is the one that is the shortest here and the most exposed, and he's on Kalshadir, and I think they hold out really well, and they know not to try to bang and crash, and it's a criticism we've had of Curnow and Mackay over the years that they get in each other's way. Darcy and Norton are very good at it, so Jack Crisp gets exposed here. They don't.
So Lewis just blocked there, basically.
Yeah, so they're all holding out really well this time. Quaynor, you've got Smalls. Dan Houston back here on Chol, he wouldn't like that matchup, so that was someone that gets exposed. So they did it really well for each other. So Frampton, he's a bit nervous, he's a bit jumpy, but suddenly Dan Houston gets caught out on the resting ruckman in Chol, and this space running out, opening up the channel, leaving it open, and then it's Dylan Moore. So now, to his credit, Sam Mitchell, he stuck to his guns. I was one that says, no, I wouldn't play Lewis. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. But he stuck to his guns and they all worked really well.
So did you just back it in now? Is it not even a horses for courses situation? It's just play them?
I think because, often there's working and the chemistry side of it, but he just says, they're in my best 22. I can make it work for me. And, I think he backs it in.
You're on a roll with big name forwards. We'll stick with big name forwards. He's not a key forward in the true sense of the phrase, but Toby Green, one of his better performances in a year that's been okay for him, but without being great against North Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. He was a highlight out of this game where they did it easy. You look at the ease at some of these goals. That's what I'd be disappointed if I was North Melbourne and Clarkson and the fans at the ease at what they're doing. But let's celebrate Toby. 23 disposals, 14 score involvements, 10 marks. Could have had an even bigger one. He kicked 3 goals, 3. So to take one highlight out of this game, which we knew it was the result we all expected would happen.
Yeah.
Toby was great.
It was 54 points, and then it could have been a whole lot more. They sort of hung on there, North Melbourne, in the last quarter early before it got away from them again. But that happens pretty much every single week, and they will be part of our learnings as we take a look at what else took your mind out of round 22.
Yeah, well, the Tigers lost an ugly game to St Kilda, and I was just saying, don't get complacent. Don't think because you've got all these young kids at 2026, it's going to be linear and you're starting Premier. You've still got a lot of work to do because there's been a lot of shockers in the back half of the season. Praise the Lord, they lost the game, but Cooper Lord did a wonderful job on Noah Anderson, so something to build on. He fights hard for his football club. And West Coast, the nightmare's nearly over, so it's been a nightmare of a year, but just 2 weeks to go.
Yep. Saints have won 3 in a row, but to me, Lord, they haven't proven anything. It's been by a combined margin of 19 points against the Melbourne Footy Club, North Melbourne and Richmond, who are not good teams. Look, you'd rather win than lose, but I'm not learning anything significant out of it. The Sam Draper decision at Essendon, it's crucial for that club, isn't it, with the free agency status he's got?
Yeah, I reckon it'll come this week, but I'm not sure he'll stay.
Yeah, Adelaide or Lions?
I'm not sure on that, but probably the Lions are in front.
Yep. All the focus on Drew McCameron at the Cats, but Shannon Neal, 37 goals now, 3 goals to start the game. Don't forget about him as you get into the finals too, and nothing changes, as we said, at North Melbourne, their performance against GWS. And Dawson, look, it's every week we talk about him, but he's going to be up to his eyeballs in a Brownlow medal chance, and we're going to make that the Crypto.com bold call of the week, the Brownlow medal for Dawson. Well,
there'll be no votes for Nick Dacos, there'll be no votes for Noah Anderson, and he had another 3-vote game just about Jordan Dawson.
I'm going to have to concede, Lotto, on the Crypto.com tipping leaderboard because I've only got 2 rounds of matches left, and I don't think I can make up those 8 points I need to behind Michael Whiting, and you might be a sneaky chance if you go wide.
I'm no good either. I'm like the Bulldogs, just hanging on, Damo, to a final spot.
At least you're in there at the moment. I'm out. So that is access for Crypto.com after round 22. We'll be back to wrap up another big one, the second last round of the AFL season next Monday.